I have $500 to build the ultimate home lab experience, and I won't be doing this alone. Colton from Hardware Haven is back for a second annual Home Lab Challenge.
Brett, Home Lab Challenge Season 2? Is that what we're calling it?
Yeah, welcome, Mr. Haven, to Season 2 Home Lab Challenge 2025 Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, so we're back. Basically the same rules, same premise. This time we have a bit more money. We're starting with $500 plus $200 from our awesome sponsor, ServerPartDeals, who's sponsoring the entire project.
Yeah, we did change things up a little bit. So last time we had a month and we kind of broke it up. We had a wheel spin, things like that. We've simplified it a bit. So now we just have straight up 2 weeks. Some of the rules, there's not too many. One of them is that obviously we can't use our YouTuber status, as big YouTube celebrities like us, right? We can't use that. Two is that we can't abuse recycling centers for parts, like up for interpretation, don't abuse recycling centers. And the third is that no flipping. And this may be controversial because people like it, but we didn't want to turn this into a who's better at flipping and selling computer parts. So there may be rules you don't like. That's okay. You're watching. Fantastic.
Just enjoy it. This is for fun, guys. Just enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so we do have some benchmarks that at the very end of the competition we'll each run on both of our home lab setups. So there's going to be some benchmarks and criteria, but it's sort of like a whose line is it anyway, because the points don't matter. Essentially, we're going to have the results from those benchmarks, but really the final decision is going to come down to our guest judge, who is, drumroll, Jeff Geerling from Jeff Geerling. It's just his name, but he's been gracious enough to step in as our judge and determine the winner. So he's going to take into account all of those benchmarks and criteria that we have set, but home labs can be a little bit nuanced at times. So he's going to take into account all of the objective numbers and everything from the benchmarks, and then give his opinion on who he thought had the best value home lab.
So there it is, $500, 2 weeks, 2 dudes and a dream. Home Lab Challenge 2025. First day, I'm kind of already in the trenches looking for deals, so I'm ready to go, man.
Yeah, me too. So I guess I'll see you back in 2 weeks. Good luck.
2 weeks. Good luck. You'll need it. Now this time we are both starting with the same case and power supply. And this thing is comically light. I'm actually a bit concerned. And this is a GigaChad or Gigamax 500 watt power supply, 80 plus bronze, nothing special, but we both have these for some level of consistency. I think the power supply actually weighs more than the case by a lot. We also each got to pick a random old piece of tech we had laying around to use. These don't count towards our budget, and if that upsets you, I really don't care. Now the item I chose was my wife's old MacBook Pro from 2013. We need a plan of attack. I'll start with my definition of a home lab, which really should help guide me down the path of what to prioritize. To me, a home lab is a server, proper network deployment, a backup, and power protection. You may disagree, and you probably do, but I'm comfortable with this. I just have to decide what to do with this MacBook. And I think there are 2 avenues here. Steal the parts and scrap the rest, or use it as is, possibly for backups. It does have a 1 terabyte SSD and 8 gigs of DDR3, so value-wise, that's probably like $75. And is a backup system worth $75? I think so. Better than nothing. I assume that's going to be a common theme of this challenge. Better than nothing. I'm struggling to decide if I want to set a budget for my server and just get the best hardware I can for like $200 or something, or do I set my expectations on what I want my server to do, then get the cheapest hardware that meets that criteria? Well, I'd like my server to be able to do a few things. Run virtual machines, be powerful enough to serve media, not obnoxiously loud or power hungry, greater than gigabit transfer speeds, and finally have room for proper expansion down the road. So basically this eliminates things like old Xeon systems and mini PCs. So let's do this. Since I don't think my requirements are too hefty, I'll say let's get the best setup we can for around $200. Now we also have to talk about networking. I said we needed a proper network deployment, which is ambiguous, and a lot of this probably will be, but come on man, we're building a home lab for $500. Don't look too hard into it. To me, a proper network deployment is the ability to easily control, monitor, and expand your network outside of the standard modem/router that your ISP gives you. I'd say minimum, we need our own DHCP/DNS server with the ability to incorporate additional devices like switches and access points. The easiest way would be to just snag a UniFi Express or something like that and call it a day, but the most efficient way is probably to buy a multi-port NIC and virtualize something like OpenSense or pfSense on my server. Decisions. Personally, I might get some flack for this, but I hate virtualizing my network gateway and DHCP server. And I know a lot of you people do it, and that's fine, but it's not usually my jam. I just don't like the fact that if I want to tinker with my server or put in some new hardware, my entire network goes down. So I'll probably end up with some cheaper, older hardware for my network, maybe like an old router and flash open WRT to it. I don't know, we'll see. Okay, so this really didn't come up directly in my home lab definition, but we're gonna need storage. Luckily, the sponsor of the home lab challenge this year, ServerPartDeals, is coming in hot with a $200 budget to get anything from their store. And of course, they don't just have NVMe drives, they have high capacity hard drives, and they all go through extensive testing before they're shipped to you, whether they're manufacturer recertified or seller recertified. You also get free 2-day shipping and custom packaging that makes sure your drives reach you with 0 defects. ServerPartDeals is the best solution for anyone out there looking for affordable storage to add to their home lab or their business or wherever they want to house their anime, so check them out using the link down in the description below. All right, so we're also going to need a UPS, and plenty of you probably think that's unnecessary when you're on a budget, but that's something I'm not willing to compromise on. I'm guessing that this is something we're probably going to have to track down locally because I'm guessing that it's going to be more expensive to ship an old UPS than it's even worth. So yeah, that's the plan I have for today. I do have some other ideas that might jazz things up a bit. I can't give it all away in the first video, but I do know that in terms of CPU, I'm probably going to lean more towards like 8,000 to maybe 12,000 series Intel chip because the value proposition there, especially with the built-in transcoding, is just phenomenal, and especially like power usage on those things. Those have gotten pretty good. But we'll see, I gotta go to the depths of Facebook Marketplace and eBay to see what I can find, and who knows, might surprise you. Man, I have been looking for parts now for a few days, and honestly, I think eBay is gonna be where I get most of my stuff. One thing so far from AliExpress, Facebook Marketplace has been a complete dud. It seems like there's stuff on like the higher end for like good deals, like around $300 to $400, and just like borderline e-waste for around $50 to $100, neither of which are things that I want. I've messaged a couple people, no real leads. I tried to get some solid state drives, hard drives, still just more expensive, honestly, than going on Amazon. So and it sucks because like it's really boring because the only like shots of me doing the challenge are like sitting on the couch scrolling on my phone and messaging people. I did try to go to a Goodwill again, nothing, just some old like just crap electronics. So yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna keep trying Facebook Marketplace. Maybe I'll come across something, but yeah, I'm not unhappy with what I found. I just wish it was a bit more exciting. Okay, I finally found a decent deal. Actually, I think it's a pretty sweet deal on Facebook Marketplace. So we're about to go pick that up. This has the potential to be pretty freaking awesome. So fingers crossed it actually goes well. Oh yeah, by the way, I have a 3D printer now, and I intend to use it. All right, boys and girls, it has been pretty much a week and a half. The challenge is almost done, and I have all of my parts. How about we take a look at it? It's pretty interesting. So first off, the case, it's like 1 pound, and pairing that is our Gigamax power supply. But what's going in here? What is the heart of our system? Well, it actually just came in like 10 minutes ago. So what we have here is an Asus Prime Z390 motherboard, an Intel i7 8700K, and 32 gigabytes of RAM. Check that bad boy out. 3 16X or X16 PCIe slots. That supports bifurcation, so expandability. Awesome. Came with the RAM, and it came with this generic cooler, a scythe cooler. Probably $160. I'm gonna put the prices of everything up here. I don't remember the exact prices off the top of my head, but you'll see. So this is awesome. I think this was solid. Now let's talk networking. So like I said, I wanted greater than 1 gig connection, which is pretty easy when you can just snag a dual 10 gig SFP plus NIC. And I mean, that's it. I think this was like around $20, but just for a direct connection between a few devices, this is really all you need. Continuing on network, I went against the whole virtualization thing. I said before, I really don't like virtualizing my gateway and router and all that stuff. So what did I do? Well, where is it? There it is. I went with this, a GLINet Opal pocket-sized travel router. I got it off AliExpress for around $30, and I love GLINet products. They're fantastic. So what this is, it's gonna be my gateway, router. It's even got Wi-Fi built in, all in one. It runs some skinned version of OpenWRT. It's fantastic. These are fantastic little devices for around $30. I mean, it's basically plug and play, but we need more connections than the just one or so that comes on here. So I had to get a switch or two. Another eBay find, roughly $50 for these two. What they are, one of these is a Giga Plus 10-port 2.5 gig switch. So we get 4 2.5 gig RJ45 ports and 2 10 gig SFP plus ports, along with a Go Lake. This is a PoE switch. So we get 52 watts output on 4 gigabit ports. So if we want to connect a camera or something or whatever, we have a PoE switch. I really just wanted this one, but this was with the deal, so whatever. And I did have a little trick up my sleeve. So I wanted to throw a little spice in there. This is a little generic, a little boring. So this is 3 Libre computer boards, little ARM-based systems, and I did my first 3D printing experience. I got in a 3D printer like at the start of this challenge. So this is my venture into 3D printing. I printed a little bracket thing to hold all 3 of them. It's got a little bar that goes across to keep them from falling out. Sure, I could have just printed a top, but I kind of like the exposed nature of it. Whatever, I'm gonna run a little cluster on here. And the goal is, these have little clips. So those are going to slide onto the side of the chassis over here and just hook right in. So completely cohesive system. And you may be thinking, Brett, that's kind of unnecessary. You seem to be catering to your judge, Jeff Geerling, who is a very popular fan of SBCs. And you're right. That's exactly what I'm doing. But I think each of them was like 17 bucks. So in total, around $50, I think, maybe $60 for all 3 with 32 gig micro SD cards. Can't beat that. Another little spice going on, like I said. Now for storage, I'm utilizing ServerPartDeals, the sponsor of this video, and I'm gonna phone them up and get me a nice U.2 1.6 terabyte NVMe drive with my $200 budget. That is gonna serve as my boot drive and to host a bunch of VMs on Proxmox. It's gonna be fantastic, but you're probably thinking, well, what about like mass storage? If that's the only storage, that's not very much. Well, check this out. God damn. Oh, yeah. So what this is a NetApp disk shelf, a NetApp DS2246, 24 bay, essentially JBOD with 20 1.2 terabyte hard drives and 4 400 gigabyte SSDs. I got this for $150 and I could not pass that up. This is roughly 22 terabytes of raw storage, maybe more, math. So what I decided to do, make an executive call, and we're getting rid of the switches. Those are gone, and I have replaced that with a generic 8-port gigabit switch. And I had this on hand already, but I'll use the average selling price of them on eBay. Yeah, that still puts us a little under budget, but when I was buying this for $150, I got there, and this guy, this was off Facebook Marketplace, had a bunch of stuff, and he threw in the HBA card, the connection to the HBA, and a UPS for $190. So $40 more, and I have a UPS. It's downstairs. It's heavy. I'm cleaning the terminals out because it doesn't work very well, but I'm hoping I can get it working. And that puts us roughly with less than $5 left. Oh, and I almost forgot the MacBook. So that's going to be running as a backup, but I do have a cool little trick. So how am I going to do this? Let me move some things. So I mentioned that I was doing 3D printing, right? Well, I didn't want to just have this laptop laying around all boring like. So what I did was very gently print these little brackets, and now we can just slide this in. Look at that. A place for our backup system right next to the main system. I think it's pretty legit. So there it is. This is my $500 home lab, and it's pretty clear that I'm not going to win the power efficiency battle, but with everything else considered, I think I have a decent shot. So make sure you're subscribed. In the next video, I'll be setting all of this stuff up, configuring it, making sure it all works. Fingers crossed. Hopefully I'm not foreshadowing anything here. And me and Colton will be drag racing our systems against each other. Then we're going to bring in Mr. Jeff Geerling to make his overall judgment on the winner of Home Lab Challenge 2025. So make sure you're subscribed. That one's going to be fun, and see y'all in the next one.